just see in the intro there, today we are working on our Dylan's 2017 GMC Sierra. It's 5.3 truck. It has a 7-inch rough country lift. It's got cognito upper control arms. Probably can't see much there with it being dark, but it's a lower control arm drop setup. Spacer for this front suspension. Otherwise, truck's pretty well stock on that regard, which is what's going to change today. We're going to start yanking the motor out here, and we have a new camshaft to go in and get rid of the DOD, as well as maybe something that's long and they're tubular. We're not really sure yet. We'll see how that goes though. Either way, we're going to start by getting the front end apart. I got the owner of the truck on the way up to give a hand to get the hood, the front bumper, the grill, all the little stuff off so that we don't mark any while we're doing it. And then tomorrow we're going to get into getting the motor out. So keep an eye out for this video, because we're going to go through like 3 or 4 parts at the removal of the engine, and then the disassembly of the engine, the install of the parts, and then explaining the final tune aspect for these Gen 5 stuff. So let's go into a time lapse to getting the front end apart, and we'll update some stuff as we go along. Alright, so maybe didn't do any updates along the way of getting to this far, but got the front end off the truck. Dylan stopped over to help to take the hood, the bumper, the grill accessory off, and took the intake manifold off just to kind of get a view of what's going on in there. Since it's got to come off anyway to get the motor out. Where'd my flashlight go? Anyone see a flashlight on the bench? No. So I put it over there on the other side.
Yes.
So we were taking a look down the intake runners. Looking down the intake runners, and you can see on the stem of the valve, there's a bit of a buildup really. Curious as to what caused that. All the valves seem to be pretty well the same. Look into deeper to see what the concern or the issue with it was. Could be a bad valve seal. These being direct injection engines, the intake track should be pretty clean in them, aside from the PVC system. So unless there's a bunch of blow by, there really shouldn't be any oil per se in these intake tracks. But either way, something we'll look into. We're going to keep going at getting the rest of the coolant system off, the alternator brackets, the water pump, etc. out, and then we're going to go to the bottom side to get the headers out of the way, or the manifolds out of the way, and then I'll get starter out, and then we'll go at flywheel, flex wheel, or flex plate, bell housing bolts, and then out the motor will come. So let's keep going back at it. Okay guys, so as you just seen there in the first video that we showed, or the first part of the video that we showed, the up top stuff, it's the next morning, so I'm going to switch to the bottom here just to get some of this stuff out of the way so we can not have to come back underneath here. But basically what I'm going to aim at today is I'm going to get the starter out, manifolds out, or the manifold bolts up there so that we can get the manifolds off, and then we're going to separate all the bell housing bolts, go in through the starter hole, and get the flex plate bolts. So I'm going to time lapse taking this all apart. As I go through, I'll do a reference to show how to get the flex bolts or flex plate bolts out from in the starter hole, as these don't really have an access hole anywhere to be able to get access to them without going to the starter. So let's go at that. We're going to start off 2 13mm bolts to hold the starter in place. Battery's already undone, and then we'll take off the starter wire and then remove the starter completely. Truck, got the starter out, went to get it off to my side there. We're up looking at the flywheel bolts, so, or flex plate bolts. So you can see there's one 15mm bolt there, and there's basically 6 of those SOBs that run around this plate, so we've got 6 to go. So we're gonna get the first one out. Normally the plan of attack is to take a 15mm ratchet on a shallow socket, get it up there to break the bolt free, and then if you can fit a gun there just to get it the rest of the way out. The one thing I would recommend is when you put this back together, just be careful that you don't drop the bolt between the bell housing, because then you're fucked. So take your time, be careful with it. Alright, so we are just about ready to pull this motor out. Manifolds, the bolts that come up from where the manifolds meet the downpipes, they were just a little shitty, so couldn't really get a good socket on them and ended up stripping them. So we're going to leave those for the time being until the motor's out. In the meantime, if you ever end up in a situation, pull the spark plugs out. That way the manifolds don't grab the plugs on the way by and then break the porcelain off. Everything is out. All the bell housing bolts are out. Everything in the back. There's 2 brackets if you're not familiar with taking these out as well. You have one 13mm bolt that takes the bracket off this way, and then you got to take the 15mm bolt out to get the bell housing bolts. So all those are gone. The underside has all of the torque converter bolts removed. Same deal on this side. The manifold wasn't able to come out, but we removed the spark plug so that can come out. Now we're just gonna jack the truck up, pull the wheels off it, put a jack under the transmission to hold it in place, and then we should be able to pluck this sucker out. So I'm gonna get time lapse going of us taking the tires off and getting the little things taken care of. Coolant out of it as well. We just gotta bust some lines off to be able to get it out as well. So let's go back at it. Alright, sorry guys, so some asshole, excuse my French, called me while I was in a time lapse, so a lot of this didn't get recorded. But either way, it's coming out. We are just a few short jacks away from having this sucker laid on the bench. Oh, sorry, I should hold this for you, Dylan. Interesting to know these motors have to come out sideways. Almost there. One pump away. Either way, guys, motor's coming out. We got a little stuff taken care of, so we're gonna get this thing jacked up, and then we're gonna get on our stand and start to tear into it. So we'll be back. Alright, guys, so got the motor out. Motor is out of the bay. It's sitting on the stand. We got it ready to be disassembled. We're going to start by breaking the lines free for the high fuel pressure system, and then we're going to get the heads off. But just to leave suspense, we're going to wait to do that till the next video. So that basically goes over getting the engine out. I appreciate you guys following along and keeping track of videos. If you want to see more updates on this build, just keep track of the updates on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. They're going to come live every 3 or 4 days. Hopefully I get them edited and out. This shouldn't be here that long, but basically that's how the edits are going to come out. In the meantime, though, don't forget to check out Instagram and Facebook for the updates and subscriptions. Make sure you hit the bell. Appreciate it. Till then, chat safe, drive safe, guys. See you another time.